with your shopping experience? Try your hand at indoor bungee jumping and swoop over escalators or dangle over people eating in restaurants. Mediage Mall in Tokyo's trendy Odaiba area has offered this unique experience in September, summer vacation time for many schools.
Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bungee!
Age is no bar for this experience, but jumpers must weigh between 45 and 85 kilograms. Organisers say indoor bungee jumping is rare, and there are only 2 facilities in the world, one in Canada and the one at Mediage. And compared to bungee jumping off a bridge, out in the open, experts say the mall experience is much more frightening. This is especially so in a mall like this one because it is such a confined space. It's a lot scarier this way, and there are a lot more people looking at you from all different angles, so there's also a bit more pressure. New Zealander jump master Charles Odlin, who helped set up this mall bungee event, has assisted more than 30,000 people to make the leap off bridges and ledges all over the world. Those who attempt the jump must take off their shoes so that their footwear doesn't accidentally fall off and hit customers on the ground floor. Some of the barefoot jumpers get cold feet, especially when they walk towards the edge of the platform and look down. People who go through with the jump receive a complimentary photograph and a certificate saying they've completed their bungee experience. The scariest parts are waiting to jump and the moment you jump, according to some of the people who have taken the plunge, while others thought the bouncing was worse. Some couldn't remember anything and kept their eyes closed the whole time. It certainly makes the escalator ride seem tame. A Russian gun enthusiast has turned to making miniature pistols, working replicas of real handguns that fire miniature but very real bullets. Andrei Batashev is a gun enthusiast and now an amateur pistol maker. However, his rifles and pistols are not designed to intimidate or kill. Andrei likes to refer to them as works of art. Andrei lives in the town of Tula, 180 kilometers south of Moscow, which has always been famous in Russia for its arms craftsmen. For centuries, Tula was Russia's biggest center for the production of guns, pistols and rifles. In the Cold War times, the town became synonymous with a variety of weapons, from Kalashnikov machine guns, automatic rifles, mortars to grenade launchers. But times have changed, and so have the demands. Weapons production lines have been shut down due to lack of state funding. Andrei Batashev has decided to keep part of Tula's old tradition of arms craftsmanship alive. He started 2 years ago, and now he makes a living from selling his miniature guns. His business generates significant family income. Each piece can go as high as $350 US. He sells the weapons to a Russian company who market them for him to interested buyers. Batashev claims some of his mini pistols have been bought on behalf of Russian President Vladimir Putin and Cuban leader Fidel Castro. He uses basic tools and a couple of lenses to carve out the tiny details. The caliber of a bullet for one of his pistols is just 2.5 millimeters. Batashev is keen to promote the quality of his craft and the artistic value of his trade, comparing it with beautiful knives and swords and rejecting their use as nonsense. Each piece of weaponry takes up to 3 months to make. He has produced over 25 replicas so far. An unemployed man in Thailand has found a creative and environmentally friendly way to make money. He's selling rather unique monster statues made out of chicken bones. Chalampol Dipoon lost his factory job 4 years ago, around the time Thailand plunged into a terrible economic crisis. But unlike many men who lost hope, Chalampol was determined to keep working, keep active, and keep creative. The former art student came up with an idea involving sculpture and recycling, using chicken bones to make rather interesting looking statues. He says most people would never think that old bones could be recycled in such a way. He keeps bones from all sorts of small animals and birds, such as a rat skull because of its beautiful shape, or chicken beaks, which can be moulded into different things. Chalampol has made about 50 of the skeleton-like statues. All have been made without plans. He doesn't sketch it out in advance. He starts from one bone to the next, just using his imagination. And it seems locals are loving the bony inventions with orders rolling in. Chalampol says he enjoys making the chicken statues, but dreams of being able to work with bigger bones, like those from ostriches. What do chocolate and stamps have in common? Not much, you would think. However, when Choco Suisse, the Swiss Chocolate Industries Federation, celebrated its 100th anniversary, they decided on an unusual way to mark this event. They issued a limited edition commemorative postage stamp. This special stamp from Switzerland is sure to please, especially chocolate lovers. The 90-centime stamp not only looks like a square of chocolate on an open foil wrapper, but smells like it too. The Swiss chocolate scent is sealed in millions of minute capsules in the stamp, and to release the delicious aroma, you just have to rub it slightly. Though tempting, the stamps are calorie-free. Customers had only praise for the sweet-smelling stamp, which they said gave them a true taste of Switzerland's famous national confection. The Swiss are a nation of chocolate lovers. Last year, they ate on average 12 kilograms per person, making them one of the world's biggest consumers as well as producers. This is probably not the first scratch and sniff stamp, but it's certainly one of the only ones worth licking. Welcome to one of the most bizarre and funny competitions in the world, the annual Mascot Grand National Race in Britain. The race attracted a field of more than 90 mascots from all over Britain, and even an entry from the United States. They gathered one Sunday at Huntingdon Racecourse, getting ready and concentrating for the big moment.
But we shall see. I'll probably end up on the ground, I reckon.
Jason Fury was informed about the competition via the internet. He came all the way from Florida to race for his favorite ice hockey team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. In the country which invented football, the majority of mascots were obviously from soccer teams, but there are also competitors from many other sports, including cricket, rugby, and even horse racing. This year's hot favourites included Cyril the Swan, Harry the Hornet, and Chatty the Owl as contestants executed unusual warm-up routines. The race attracted many spectators interested not only in enjoying themselves, but also taking their chances in the betting stalls. In previous editions, there were accusations of cheating amid rumours the competitors were using spiked shoes. That's why organiser Sean Boyce pledged mascots to respect the rules and asked for a nice, clean race. A lot of sportsmanship, fair play all round, no biting, gouging or kicking, no taking each other to the ground, you know, that kind of thing. Chatty the Owl from Oldham Football Club dominated from start to finish, beating his biggest rival, Harry the Hornet from Watford, into second place. Once called the ugliest mascot in Britain, Chatty's race credential card warned that he could be likely to be hung over, but the winning mascot was overwhelmed. Umananag in Greenland offers perhaps the best, most extreme and spectacular golf course in the world. Freezing glaciers and huge icebergs frame the course and continue to move slowly all year round. Even in March, the green is cut literally days before the event. Ice golf is not a new twist on an old sport. It was known in Holland back in the 17th century as Kulven, with players trying to hit a ball into a hole in the frozen over canals. The championships, held on the Umananag Fjord, which in English means heart-shaped, lie over 600 kilometres inside the Arctic Circle and draw over 30 participants from Denmark, Britain, the United States, Germany and Greenland. The course consisted of 9 holes marked out between the glaciers, the longest being 430 metres. Playing golf on a frozen seascape is not the only task at hand. Coping with extreme temperatures which can fall to minus 50 degrees Celsius with the wind chill factor challenges players both physically and mentally. Special kit is absolutely essential. Other factors to consider are that the green is white, the ball is fluorescent orange, and there is the unlikely risk of losing a ball to a polar bear. In sunny conditions, and this time relatively mild temperatures of minus 8 degrees Celsius, the players had to complete 4 rounds of the course.
Well done. Thank you. How did that hide during all the rest of that?
None of the participants managed to win the $1 million US prize for a hole-in-one due to difficult weather conditions, and perhaps not quite the luck needed.
No, I missed it. I'm still just a poor bastard from Colorado. Well, I don't know about the poor, but there you are.
In this particular competition, Dane Annika Oostberg has retained her title for the 2nd year running. However, for many of the players, just taking part was the whole reason for being in Greenland. A South Korean television celebrity famous for hosting his home shopping show while running on a treadmill has gotten married on one. Park Jin-ho, host of one of the most popular cable home shopping shows in South Korea, has sold more than 120 million treadmills during his 6 years on the job. To pay tribute to his on-air success, the 35-year-old bridegroom decided to have his wedding at an improvised outdoor gymnasium, running with his bride as they took their vows. Wedding guests were also required to hit the treadmill. Park soon doffed his wedding tuxedo and ended the ceremony in running shorts. His bride, Kim Hyun-suk, however, stayed in her white wedding dress. Park hosts a 1-hour program 4 days a week, and he runs about 10 kilometers on a treadmill per program. Park said he had wanted to wed on a treadmill ever since he began hosting his show 6 years ago. He did not believe that he would manage it until the suppliers of the treadmills helped out. The suppliers donated 100 workout machines free of charge for the wedding as a symbol of their gratitude for Park's sales successes. The groom's father said the nature of the ceremony was a little unexpected. It was touching to see his son wed, but was not expecting it this way. Other guests thought Park was kidding at first, but enjoyed the experience. The couple wrapped up the wedding ceremony by popping open a bottle of champagne amid applause from guests on their treadmills. As Park jogged away with his bride in his arms, guests applauded and released balloons into the air. A Chinese professor has updated the ancient Eastern art of embroidery, creating portraits of celebrities, presidents, and royalty using the unusual medium of human hair. Creating pictures with silk and human hair was common in China more than 300 years ago, with most of the artists using the threads to depict landscapes and animals. But Wei Jingxian, the 64-year-old head of the Portrait Embroidery Institute in China's Wenzhou Teachers College, has applied this ancient technique to portraiture, creating lifelike images that have attracted admiration the world over. Xian has been dubbed China's embroidering diplomat because of his skill in creating portraits of the world's most influential and famous people. The pictures are usually given as official gifts to visiting heads of state, and most take up to 2 to 3 months to finish. Xian's work include pictures of Britain's Princess Diana, who died in a car crash in 1997. He has also recently woven portraits of United Arab Emirates politicians, such as ruler Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, to commemorate his visit to Dubai. A piece of pure silk and a needle and hair are Xian's tools. He painstakingly stitches the fragile strands into the material to create his unique and fascinating portraits. He also sometimes uses coloured silk thread to make portraits as well as pictures grounded in Chinese folklore. Xian explained that the unique thing with hair embroidery is that it is not just a painting. It can also last for many years. He compares them with the Egyptian mummies, which have been preserved for over 3,000 years. Xian collects his hair from friends and relatives, and not from hair salons, as most visitors to the exhibit think. To immortalize his own mother, he grew his own hair, cut it off, and then used it to create her portrait. Some visitors to the exhibition could not believe the intricacy of the work, nor seen such creativity using hair. In Japan, babies have battled it out in an annual sumo rite designed to bring good health. The traditional heart of Tokyo was abuzz with baby talk recently as parents and their toddlers lined up to take part in an old custom dating back at least 800 years. Behind the Asakusa Temple in downtown Tokyo, a sumo ring, or dojo, was set up and the names of the contestants written out just as in a normal sumo tournament. The crying sumo contest requires mothers to give their babies to wrestlers to be shaken, stirred, and frightened out of their wits. And the main rule of the crying game? The first baby to squeal wins. In Japan, there is a saying that a crying baby grows up strong, which is why throughout the nation there are many of these crying sumo contests. But squeamish mothers need not worry. Another key rule is that in no way can the baby be hurt. Some rural contests have been known to pinch the children for them to cry, but not in Asakusa. And not all babies disliked the treatment they got. Some giggled. Others fell asleep in the big arms of the wrestlers. Though most preferred the reassuring embrace of their mother. And after a long day under the sun, there's no doubt that it's the mothers who take the prize for bringing up happy and crying children. It takes a month to make a good balafon, a West African version of the xylophone, which is key to Mandingo culture. The craft and musical style of this traditional instrument has launched brothers Ali and Yusuf Kita into the contemporary international music scene. In the neighbourhood of Bromakoti, overlooking the Ivorian capital Abidjan, the sound of the balafon has become almost synonymous with the scenery. Most of the residents here come from Mali, and Mali's Mandingo culture dominates this part of town. For Yusuf Kita, who makes and plays the balafon, the distinctive sound of this instrument has become a way of life. Yusuf comes from a long line of griot praise singers from Mali's Bobo country and learned to play the balafon as a child. From a young age, he dedicated himself not only to playing, but also making balafons. After a while, he couldn't carry on doing both school and balafon. The two didn't go together, so he stopped going to school. Yusuf spends most of his time in his workshop. There are few home comforts here and even less space, but this is where the best balafons in West Africa are made. These instruments aren't made for tourists. Each balafon is made to order, and the clients are mainly from overseas, including European, Swiss, American, Asian, and even Japanese. While Yusuf maintains the family tradition, his brother Ali Kita is testing new ground for balafon improvisation. Ali was first noticed by a jazz pianist who encouraged him to develop a different musical approach. He quickly found his feet outside the boundaries of traditional balafon music. Currently a jazz balafonist, Ali said that he has transformed the language of the balafon. It is no longer just the old-fashioned thing, and in doing so has broken down a few barriers. The balafon in its original form can't be played with modern instruments. It has fewer notes and isn't tuned the same way as more familiar Western instruments. Ali asked his brother to find a way of making the two musical traditions more compatible. Yusuf made a balafon which could accompany a sax, a keyboard, a balafon in C major. It wasn't long before Ali's improvisation with the balafon attracted the attention of some of the biggest names in modern jazz. Quite a feat for someone who is unable to read or write musical notes. Between them, the art of the balafon has enabled the two brothers to successfully strike a balance between traditional and contemporary music. How would you like to swim in a dirty, smelling, wet trench in the middle of a Welsh peat bog? Every year, a group of bog snorkeling enthusiasts gather to compete in this very unusual race. Competitors have to swim 2 lengths of the course, which is 54.8 metres long and 1.2 metres deep. It's cut into a peat bog outside Lintwood Wells in mid-Wales. 90 competitors of varying ages took part in this World Championship event, moving through the murky, weed-infested bog in the fastest time possible. They were allowed wetsuits, snorkels and flippers, but according to the rules, could not use conventional swimming strokes. Bog snorkeling may not be for everyone, but those who do take part are full of enthusiasm for their sport. One competitor, who despite finishing well off the pace, described it as awesome. With flippers, snorkel and determination, Philip John from South Wales beat an international field of competitors to be crowned World Bog Snorkeling Champion in this race.
1:48.22, new leader.
To the cheers from bog snorkeling enthusiasts and local onlookers, John took 1 minute, 45 seconds to complete the course. John, a 15-year-old student from Bridgend, Wales, when asked how he would describe bog snorkeling to those unfamiliar with it, answered that it was fun and dirty. Karaoke for one, a new pastime or a new take on contemporary culture. Futuristic karaoke pods allow people to live out their rock star fantasies without disturbing their neighbours. When a person sings but there is no one to hear, are they really performing? That's the question on everyone's mind at the new Museum of Contemporary Art in New York. Part road trip, part space odyssey, Liebul Live Forever is a futuristic installation of 3 fully equipped soundproof karaoke pods. Visitors are invited to enter the car-like pods one at a time for a solo performance. Once inside, visitors live out their rock star fantasies in the privacy of their padded pod, which, when you hear the results, is often a very good thing. Combining the hottest new technology and design with video and music, Korean artist Lee Bul challenges her participants to take a provocative look at their public and private selves by rethinking the karaoke tradition. Karaoke is traditionally a social event taking place before a gathering of people in which the performer makes a fool of him or herself to varying degrees. But in Lee's pod, you're on your own. Although Lee's pods are comfortable, stylish and almost 100% soundproof, one participant found the experience of singing in them somewhat unsettling. She thought that because karaoke is such a social thing and something to do for a laugh with friends, to do it on your own feels more selfish and egotistical. Whatever your interpretation, it's impossible to resist the temptation to climb aboard for a private test drive. You might just find yourself hooked on the sound of your own voice. A Tokyo company held a farewell party for a special retiring employee who's literally had a dog's life working at a software company. At the Japanese subsidiary of US software company Oracle in Tokyo, it's business as usual for the 1,600 employees. But for one special employee, it is her last day. Heidi is retiring after working tirelessly as the company dog for nearly 12 years. The Old English sheepdog has done the rounds of the company corridors endlessly and is known to all. For her direct boss, Takeshi Sato, she has always been part of the family. Her work consists mainly of employee stress management, and to that end, she greets everyone in typical canine fashion. A lick on the face and a hug here and there for good measure. For the employees, it takes their mind off work momentarily and soothes what can be an impersonal work environment. At nearly 70 years old in dog years, Heidi is unlikely to be hounded by the financial concerns of ordinary Japanese after she retires. While Japan's elderly fret over a planned cut in state pensions, she was presented with a voucher for a year's supply of beef jerky at a ceremony in Tokyo marking nearly a dozen years of dogged devotion to Oracle Japan. And while Oracle Japan's profits dived 36% in the first half of the current financial year, there are to be no canine cutbacks for the moment. Heidi's role in helping human employees to relax and make the most of their creative powers will be taken over by Wendy, a puppy of the same breed. Heidi has, in a way, left her mark on the company, and the chief executive, Masaki Shintaku, said that her looks and personality did wonders for the company. The long-haired pooch has been adopted by a member of staff at Oracle Japan, a unit of US software powerhouse Oracle Corp, who said he hopes to keep her in the manner to which she has become accustomed. But for now, it's time for Heidi to hand in her company security card. Tongue-tied for the perfect vodka toast? A Russian engineering team has invented a new vodka bottle that toasts, cheers, and jeers drinkers as they down Russia's favorite drink. It's what every party or gathering of friends have lacked until now. A talking vodka bottle. A small microphone and a computer chip tucked neatly into the bottle cap gives out a recorded cheer when the bottle is opened. When the cap is placed on the table, it periodically yells out toasts, sings songs, plays noises, and simply reminds everyone to keep their priorities straight. Drink. Try to close the bottle of cheer, and it suggests to you to go out and get another one. Some of the first drinkers to try the new bottle said they liked the idea, and it was great for lonely drinkers because they have someone to talk to. But be warned, said another, because if you listen too closely to the bottle, you might end up forgetting who's talking. The bottle makers say the inspiration for their drinking partner is just the first in a line of smart goods that they want to create. They're working on a project to make a community of talking things, such as a chair talking to a table, or an umbrella talking to boots. Designers hope to eventually create personalised talking bottles, where, for example, a person can record messages for a friend and send off the bottle so that there are timed greetings, initial toasts, encouragement to get through the last drops, and maybe a few songs along the way to make it all go down nice and tidy. A brave new drinking world? Perhaps, but the creators say their inspiration comes from the world of children's fantasy and the idea of talking objects such as the tin soldier and nutcracker of fairy tales. Now that's something deep enough to think about as you near the end of a litre bottle. Russians on the street say they would like to take the bottle to their tables, and even a road worker thought it was a good idea to have such a talking cup when you are drinking with friends. So drink up, and if you can't find a reason for good cheer, then the little man in the bottle is now here to do the job for you. Lovers of Japanese carpfish known as koi are paying big bucks to rent space in special hotels in Singapore to ensure they're comfortable. Businessman Tony Lee goes to the Koi Hotel every other day to visit his fish. He spends nearly 5,000 Singapore dollars a month on food and rent for the 100 koi he owns. They are living the good life in total pampered comfort at the Nippon Koi Hotel. Lee's own pond is not big enough to keep them all together. They need more room to swim and exercise. And he could not get rid of them as they provide him with more satisfaction than going out at night. He found that it was much better to spend money on his koi than wasting it at nightclubs. The koi make him feel very, very happy. Tony Lee is not alone in his preoccupations, and that's why Ah Seng opened the hotel. Many people love fish but can't house them because their homes are too small or their relatives don't share their tastes. Ah Seng says that some guys rent space in the hotel for their koi to stop their wives from seeing how much money they spend on their koi. They check up on their fish at the weekends. Nippon Koi Hotel has about 100 customers. All of them are male. The hotel has about 200 ponds in 3 different sizes from small to huge. The latter are known as the presidential suites of the ponds. Each of them comes with a room or pond number, and koi lovers can keep a record of their pets' shapes and sizes. The Koi Hotel's ponds cost between 250 to 750 Singapore dollars a month. The high-end presidential ponds are for serious breeders who raise koi to sell them on auction or enter them for competitions. Some of the ponds are deeper than others. Koi breeders say the deeper the pond, the bigger the fish. Public relations consultant Tae Kwan Yan fell in love with koi 12 years ago. Today, he owns about 80 of them. While one half stays in the Koi Hotel's presidential water suite, the other half swims in his own cozier-sized pond. The two groups rotate their ponds' homes every 6 months. He sends them to the hotel to grow larger in the bigger ponds. Tai said he's too busy at work to tend to his fish. The Koi Hotel is just perfect for him. The fish are looked after, pampered even, and they also help to monitor the fish. The hotel also provides hospital service for sick koi that are suffering from skin disease. The most common sickness is ulcers caused by bad water. Koi lovers say fish even suffer from stress caused by travelling from one pond to another. The owners said the hotel is not only for serious koi lovers and breeders, they encourage beginners to start collecting them and simply appreciate the beauty of the fish at the hotel or at home. A 46-year-old Englishman is claiming a world record after he floated to nearly 4,000 metres, suspended beneath 600 party balloons. Many adventurers over the years have claimed world records dangling under huge hot air balloons. But now an Englishman has done the same thing with common party balloons. In the dawn light, he was lifted slowly in the air by a large hot air-filled balloon and the 600 party balloons. Cheered on by his supporters on the ground. The big balloon was only there to give him enough height to be able to parachute safely to the ground should his endeavour have gone wrong. Once he'd reached about 1,800 metres, Ashbowl cut himself loose from the support balloon, shooting up higher and higher into the blue sky. His party balloons carried him upward another 2,000 metres at a rapid rate of around 400 metres every minute. Despite any pre-launch nerves, the stunt proved a success. Although he'd hoped to reach 5,000 metres, he topped out at around 4,000. Still an improvement on the previous world record set in 1996, which was also his own. Ian Ashbowl wasn't disappointed with his performance, and it was quite a wild ride after the cutaway from the main balloon. He said his biggest problem was that his party balloons kept bursting after he cut away from the support balloon, so he had to keep clearing himself of the loose strings. Not enough of a problem, more than likely, to put him off trying again.
God, it's dangerous on the ground.
Are you looking for a different kind of holiday? Something a bit quirky, perhaps? Then maybe this is for you. The British are renowned for having an eccentric side to their nature. The country hosts sheep racing in Warwickshire and the World Tin Bath Racing Championships. And Docklands boasts traffic light sculpture. Experts say this offbeat side to the British can make a holiday spent here especially rewarding, as spending just 15 minutes with an eccentric person can make your entire stay in Britain worthwhile. Tourist organisations in the UK are hoping to cash in on this phenomenon to attract more visitors to the country. British eccentricity can be found in the cities and the countryside, north, south, east and west. And for visitors to come and actually experience this for themselves is a very unique experience for them. Would you fancy a seascape painted by dolphins? At this dolphinarium in the Ukraine, the famous Black Sea dolphins are now working to a different tune. Playing to an appreciative audience, showing them all the tricks of the trade, it is hard to imagine their past. And other tricks? Well, there is the painting. This was not so difficult to teach them either. That is because these dolphins had an earlier life working for the Russian Navy. More than a decade ago, they guarded the communist bloc's most strategic bay in Sevastopol, plunging into cold, deep waters to monitor mines and watch for enemy divers who might creep toward the Soviet Union's Black Sea Fleet. But once the threat of intruders had all but disappeared and the Soviet Union no longer existed, a problem remained as to what could be done to save the dolphins and their trainers, who no longer had a use. The trainers found it was easy to train the dolphins to paint eagerly sought after pictures as it was to communicate the presence of the enemy. So, in addition to the acrobatics of jumping through hoops, they entertained crowds of people with their prowess with a paintbrush. They seemed pretty happy about their performance as well. Dolphins can live to 50 years old in the wild, and it is hoped that with their newfound abilities, these dolphins have a long and rewarding life. The ancient Thai art of sword making and engraving lives on in a small village in Ayutthaya province, north of Bangkok. For centuries, the people of this area have crafted some of the mightiest swords in the country, and the tradition continues today. Welcome to Sword Town, Aranyik, a small village near Thailand's ancient capital Ayutthaya, about 80 kilometers north of Bangkok. There are about 200 sword shops in the area which sell hundreds of different types of swords, from small kitchen carving knives to metre-long fighting swords, all handcrafted with the utmost care. Work begins early for local women employed in the industry, and it's backbreaking to say the least. It takes 3 of them to pound away at the red-hot iron, gradually shaping each piece into a sword. The sword tradition began hundreds of years ago during the wars between Thailand and Burma. The town became well known for its gifted sword makers who provided the strongest fighting weapons for Thai soldiers. The engraved swords were normally used by abbots or black magic men. The engravings gave the swords special powers. The best kind of iron was chosen to make these swords, and then once they were engraved, a ceremony was held to activate the magic powers of the engravings. In the old days, it was believed these swords could scare away ghosts and cure sickness. The tradition of sword making has been passed down from generation to generation. Many of the ancient swords in Thailand are also engraved with Khmer and Buddhist messages. The Thais believe this brings the weapons good luck. Not that an ancient swordmaster would have relied on luck to defeat their foe.